Today's workers versus 30 years ago, how it used to be. There was a time when you couldn't find a job in the small town that I was in, and I had to leave this town and go to a big city to find a job. There were no jobs to be had in my town. No matter where you went, no one was hiring. Today, everybody's hiring. Then, as I became a boss, you could actually pick and choose the people you wanted to work with you. If you put an ad in the paper or you put an ad online and you wanted help, you had 50 people respond to that ad, and you could pick and choose. You could pick the cream of the crop. Then it kind of went downhill from there. Then if you had to look for people who actually had a driver's license, who didn't have umpteen drunk drivings on their record. So that was critical. They had to have a driver's license, you hired them. Then it came to the point where even if they had a criminal history, if they had a driver's license, you still hired them. Nowadays, you pretty much hire anybody that shows up for the interview. And to make it even worse, half the time, if they don't show up to the interview, you still try and hire them because they have a pulse. Now they're about as useless as they can get. And now, everybody wants 30 bucks an hour and they don't know jack shit. So now you get the employee. Now comes the headaches that you didn't have years ago. They're always in need of something. They always need something, or they have a reason why they're always late to work. It's constant, never ending. They're always calling in sick, and it's usually because they spent too much time at the bar the night before. They struggle to put an 8-hour day in. That's a big deal to them because 8 hours, God knows, is a long time to be at a job. God forbid you ask them to work on a weekend. That's even worse. That's almost unheard of, taboo, so to speak. And if you do expect them to do their job, they consider that harassment. Nowadays, you can't tell them to do anything, right? Because it's wrong. You're the bad guy. What? You want them to work 8 hours? You bastard. Our government today is making it impossible for small business owners. There's too much government handout money. Paying these people to stay on unemployment is ridiculous. It's a joke. So I say it's time for the solution. It's time for the government to pull the titty out of the mouth and stop feeding these people. They go hungry long enough, they'll go to work. Today, the inmates are running the prison. So the struggle is real. Everybody has it. Every business owner you talk to has the same problem. So I'm going to tell you what we did to solve the problem. There's a thing called H-2B visas, and that is for getting immigrants to come here legally. And I mean legally. I'm not talking about crossing the border illegally. When immigrants come across, we tried this. Some of our neighbors were doing this. They said, hey, George, you should do what we're doing. You know, we get these guys to come across. They work hard, so on and so forth. And that's what we ended up doing. I mean, ultimately, it was a big deal for us. It was a big step. It's not cheap. It's expensive to do. But at the end of the day, it is imperative that you have workers in your business, because without the workers in your business, you can't grow. Since we brought these guys into our business, there's a lot of things we had to do. Okay, so you have to pay for their visas right out of the gate. We hire an attorney to do the work for us because there's a lot of red tape that goes along with this. Even though you have the attorneys, there's still a lot of red tape. But I'll tell you what, there's a lot of benefits to having these guys here. First, let's talk about some of the bad things, okay? So you have to hire this attorney, okay? You pay him a few $1,000s to get this done. Then you have to pay for the visas for these guys to come across legally. Then you have to pay for their airfare to get them here. You also should, you don't have to provide housing, but you should, because think about it, if you were in another country and you were applying to come here for work and you had no place to stay, well, how many quality people would be interested in the job that you're offering over there, right? So my suggestion to you is offer housing. Now, that doesn't mean you have to pay for the housing. These guys can pay for their own housing. But in the ad, you're telling them that they can come over here, and what you do for them is you find the housing. Like what we did is we went up and found some apartment buildings that had availability, and we just made a deal with them to put these guys up for 6 months, because that's what they do. They're temporary visas. They come over here, they come in the spring, and then usually October 1st, I think it was, then they get sent back, okay? So you have the airfare from there, you have the airfare going back. When you provide the housing, what you can do is make that part of their payment, I guess you would say, right? So they're taking care of their own rent. That just comes out of their paycheck, basically. So now that we did that, now that you get those guys over here, you have a bit of a language barrier problem a lot of times. So there's apps that you can get that will translate English to Spanish or whatever happens to be, wherever they're from. And you can communicate with those guys. You know, you can talk into it, talk in English, it translates it to Spanish. So your barrier, yeah, there's a little bit of a problem there, but there's two ways to look at it, especially if you're a landscaper, or doesn't you do mowing. Once you show those guys what to do, they've got it. They're on it. If you have trouble, if it's more intricate, then use your translator, and that translates to the boys, and then they understand it and they work. So I'm going to tell you, just from our experience from working with these guys, it has been good. All around, it's been a good experience for us, and these guys work. When they get here, you don't have to worry about them calling in. They are to work every single day, and they will work as long as you want them to work. They don't cry about it, they don't complain about it, and your work actually gets done, right? So a lot of those headaches and a lot of those call-ins that you get from everybody, they're no more. They don't exist anymore. So at the end of the day, you guys, if you're thinking about this H-2B visa program, I do suggest it. I really do, especially if you're in the landscaping field and you have a lot of manual labor. If you need manual labor, these guys will do it when you can't find anybody around here. And I don't mean anybody. Yeah, there's guys that do it, but there's a ton of guys that refuse to do it out there, and it makes it harder and harder on the business guy. So if any of you guys need to know where to go, I'd be happy to help you out with it. I can turn you on to our attorney that did the work for us. Just give our office a call at 715-350-1741, and I'll have the girls send that information over to you. Thanks for watching.